Hey everybody, it's Tiffany here with my 200-pound journey. If you're new here, I'm on a journey to lose 200 pounds while living here in Japan. I'm a business owner and I am married to my Japanese husband. So if you're interested in all kinds of videos regarding to weight loss, to Japanese culture, to the differences between Japan, being overweight in Japan, please like, follow, subscribe, and leave any comments if there's something in particular you're looking to get information on. And I'll try my best to give that information. So today's video, I just thought I'd jump on here to give you a little video to kind of talk about some overall weird things that have happened to me as a foreigner living in the countryside of Japan. And I just want to kind of put this in here that this is just a disclaimer that these are my opinions, my personal experiences, things that have been said to me from other foreigners, discussions I've had with my Japanese friends and family, media, all that kind of stuff has kind of sculpted my opinions. And that does not mean if you come here that this will be 100% what happens to you. It doesn't mean you'll have the same experiences, and it doesn't mean that all Japanese people are like this. So let me just get into this video. So as I've said in my previous video about dating in Japan, there is a big difference between the bigger cities like Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto, and living out in a small town in Japan that's not anywhere near those big cities, right? And there really is a big difference. And a lot of that comes down to the amount of foreigners. So every foreigner who wants to come to Japan always wants to go to the super touristy areas that are super pushed on TikTok and everything. And even when they come to live here, they want to stay in the Tokyo area. They want to stay in those areas because there's lots of other people, lots of things to do, lots of foreigners, easy access to take the planes, easy access to get to a lot of areas that are highly touristy, right? Disneyland, USJ, all those kind of things. But when you end up living and moving out into the more countryside areas of Japan, your experiences are going to be much, much different, I think. And I kind of confirmed that with a lot of other foreigners who have lived in the countryside and then moved to the city, or lived in the city and moved to the countryside, along with even my own personal experiences and experiences that have happened to other foreigners that live in this area. So it's not just a me thing. It's not just because I'm overweight. And so I kind of just I'm not going to go into deep details about each of these experiences. If you want story times, I'd be happy to give you some story times. I have some really funny stories that I always tell new English teachers that I meet. They're like 22, 23, and I'm just like, well, this one time, this old lady threw me on the ground, and it blows their minds. And they're funny stories. Some of them are even inside jokes to this day between some of the people who were there to witness some of the stuff that has happened to me. It's actually a running joke that you just go to me to hear funny stories, because something about me, Japanese people feel it's okay to do these things. Even my husband, he gets really annoyed. And so in general, I have to say that the Japanese people are fine. Obviously, they're very nice, very respectful, unless you're being crazy or not being mindful of your surroundings or being, weird. They're going to leave you alone for the most part. But out in the countryside, especially in my beginning years, it was worse. Now it's not as bad in my city, and that just comes to people knowing who I am versus, just this new random foreigner, right? So I have to say also that when I go out by myself, these things happen, and when I'm out with other foreigners, these things happen. But if I'm with my husband or I'm with my Japanese friends or family, I don't usually have these instances happen to me. Or they will talk directly to my husband. And so these kind of things, I'm just going to kind of list them here. I have had people corner me in grocery stores to find out where I'm from and then try to do a language exchange while I'm just like at Daiso or the grocery store trying to buy some bread. I've had people stop me to give me compliments. I've had people stop me to ask, just in general, you know, oh, are you blah, 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 or oh, where are you from? Are you an English teacher, right? Are you interested in this religion? That happens to me a lot too. And then I get people who take pictures of me without my permission from far away. I've had people grab me and pull me into a picture position without even asking me and then walking away. I've had people who have asked me for pictures very nicely. I have had people cut in line, like standing in line like everyone else, waiting for the grocery till, and someone just right in front of me, like I don't exist. I have been given free things. I have had people want me to take a picture with their children. I don't know, this is really weird. So those are kind of like the general things. Also, I've had people touch my hair. I know people of color will talk about this on all the all the social medias and stuff about Japanese people just touching their hair, or people in general touching their hair. I do have really thick curly hair when it's down. I don't usually wear it down, but when I do, some old Japanese lady is going to touch it. It's going to happen. It's annoying. I also have had where I've been pushed out of the way, kind of like just with their carts so that they can get stuff. Like I don't exist, pretty much, right? And all of these things, when they happen in front of my husband, he gets so upset, but they don't happen as often in front of him. So yeah, those are just some things that happened to me out in the countryside. Never happened to me when I was touring in the more touristy areas, like when I went to Tokyo and stuff. Never happened to me there, but here those things happen to me. And it all comes, I will have to say that 90% of the time it is old people probably in their 60s, 70s, 80s. And then 10% of the time it's really probably people in high school, junior high, maybe, that are like, that's mostly the photo thing. And people that are not in those age ranges just go about their business. They don't say anything. They don't do anything. And it's just, you have to have kind of a thick skin sometimes, because at times it does feel like you are, like on display at like a museum or a petting zoo or whatever, because sometimes the stares, the people just don't respect your boundaries. They would not do the things that they do if you were a Japanese person, right? And I've talked with my Japanese friends about this and my family, and they are always appalled when they hear about some of the stuff that people have said to me or stopped me or touched me or whatever, and they're just like, that's unacceptable, I'm so sorry, and then they automatically go, oh, don't think all Japanese people are like that. I'm like, oh, I don't think all Japanese people are like that. I know all Japanese people are not like that. You don't need to apologize for the weird old lady who decided that today was the day to, pull my hair, So I have to say, if you do come here to Japan and you do decide to go outside of the normal tourist areas, which I have to say, Japan is very beautiful. It's my area, we have a lot of touristy places for regular Japanese people, and probably the foreigners who live here. But it's very beautiful, and when you go to those places, you sometimes have a much more wholesome experience than you do like in the Tokyo tourist areas. So usually when I go to touristy places here in my area or in the more countryside, the shop owners, the people who own the museums or whatever, they're very excited to see a foreigner. They're very excited to share their culture, their food, their shop. And usually it comes into really nice interactions where it's lots of nice talking, oh, where are you from? That's exciting. Especially if you speak a little bit of Japanese, then it gets them to open up even more. And I constantly will get free gifts, not like big gifts, but like candies, little things that just are like the appreciation things that don't cost a lot usually. And then they're just so happy. And then of course I'm buying something. I always usually buy something, and then they'll throw in a little service thing. Because they're just they want to make your experience so nice, and they are just so excited to have someone come that's not normally would show up to their shop. So if you do come to Japan and you decide to go outside of those tourist areas, I say do it. But you probably will get much more stares than you would like in the Tokyo area, and you'll probably get more interactions and weirdness, I guess you could say. And as I know, it's not a just me thing. I have a very good friend who has a big beard. So Mick, if you're watching, hey. And he also has talked to me about this, just like people touching his beard and stuff. And we're just like, it's just really weird that as a foreigner, it's almost as if the manners and respect go out the window sometimes, not all the time. And of course, we also have to deal with the bad media that foreigners who come in who are disrespectful have to deal with. So we have to try to break those stereotypes when we meet Japanese people, because not everyone is the same, I think that most foreigners are all put into a specific box, a very big stereotype of a box, and then depending on what country you're in, is all dependent on that. And then, of course, I will say this because I do know from talking to some of my friends who are people of color, India, African, Jamaican, African American, some of their situations are usually the same, especially like the hair touching thing. But you can add in a little bit more discrimination and racism undertones, or racism in general, because of their color of their skin, and other Asian countries too. I'm not gonna give you like, this is the law, this is what's gonna happen, this is the reality of it, right? Because I don't live that reality, and I can only go off of what other people have told me or what I've seen on TikTok. So if you are a person of color and you're really interested in coming to Japan and knowing more about being a person of color in Japan, I really recommend. There's tons of other creators that are obviously of color, and they make content, and some of them are plus size, some of them are just regular sized people. So if you're more interested in that, I definitely recommend checking out one of their channels or going to one of their TikToks and checking out what they have to say about this stuff. But in general, from what I have been told from my friends, besides the wanting to touch their skin and their hair, I've been told too about them being stopped by police officers for checking their visas, which is something that happens to all foreigners usually, but I think it happens much more often to people of color. There's even in the news right now about 3 people of color who are taking the Tokyo police. You can Google. I cannot. It's off the top of my head right now. They're taking them to court for how many times they've been stopped by the police as people of color from other countries. So there is still an underlying problem with those things. In general, I think that your time here will probably be great. You'll probably enjoy it if you're just respectful to the people around you, respectful to the Japanese culture. It's very easy to Google or find things about Japan for like simple culture things, like your noise levels on the train, talking on the phone, just things like that. I think those are like not getting onto private property to take pictures, paying attention to the rules. I think if you just follow those things and you're very respectful and mindful, you'll be fine. You'll have a great experience here, no matter your size, no matter what you look like, no matter, whatever. I could be wrong. Okay. Life is weird. People are weird. There's those outlier people who have a terrible day and decide to, attack you, So yeah, that's just what has happened here to me, and something that I've gotten very used to. So at this point, it's just like when it happens, I'm just like, ugh, again. And I'm just fake smile, like, thank you, and just move on with my day. Right? And some people might be like, oh, you should be rude. No, most of the time they're like people in their 70s. It's like your grandma. Like, well, I'm not going to be disrespectful to your grandma, right? I'm going to be very nice and, let her have her day of talking with me and then go about my life. And so, yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to touch base here about being a foreigner in Japan, living out in the countryside. What are some weird things that can happen to you, and the feeling of being almost like you're in a petting zoo, I guess you could say. Not petting zoo, a zoo, museum, you're on display, some whatever analogy you want to use for it. So that's all I wanted to say here about that. And if you want any in-depth stories, again, like I said, leave a comment below and I will bring you some funny stories that probably are mortifying for some, but hilarious to me. And yeah, that's all for today. So everyone keep it up. Let's just keep living life and get it done. All right, bye.